Good morning, kids and clay campers. We are going to make our pinch pot nesting bowls today. I've got the camera for this project focused on my hands because it's going to be real important that you see exactly what I'm doing with my hands. So go ahead and grab that big bag of clay. This is probably the largest amount of clay you have for this project, for any of the projects. It's heavy. It's about 5 pounds of clay. Go ahead and pull that out of your bag. And cover it with your bag to keep it fresh, but have it ready to go, okay? We don't need a whole lot of tools for this project. We're really just gonna use our hands, but we do need to prep. We need to get a few little things ready. We need a couple strips of paper. So I'm just cutting the top off the newspaper and cutting the side, making sure those open up. I'm gonna have a couple strips, 1, 2, 3. 4, 5, 6. About 6 strips of paper, okay? And I'll set that aside. Now we're ready to go. We are going to make pinch pot nesting bowls. Now, pinch potting is one of the most basic and primitive, but still very popular ways to make a bowl. You don't use the potter's wheel, you don't use any molds or any templates, you literally just pinch these clay with your hands. And then we also are gonna make these bowls of varying degrees of sizes. So there's gonna be little baby ones on up to a big one, and they're all gonna fit within each other, okay? So we're gonna start by pulling out just a very small amount of clay. And this is completely up to you how many bowls you want to make and how small you want to start. Now I need to go a little bit bigger. So I'm going to keep pulling out pieces of clay, and then I'll compare them side by side and make sure that this is just a little bit bigger. And then the next one. You can even divide your clay if you want to do this more scientifically. If you have a weight measure at home, maybe a food measure, you could measure these by weight and make sure they're about maybe 1 pound difference, or not even, maybe half a pound difference between the two. I like to just eyeball it, and I can see that one's a little bit bigger. I'm gonna line those up so you can see. I'm squeezing these into balls, and I'm really trying to avoid air pockets. That's a little bit too big. Take some off of there. I'm gonna actually go do a little baby, smaller one yet, down on this end. Can you guys see that? I wanna make sure it's in the camera. Okay. Now we're gonna do a pretty darn big one. Again, just a little too big. You don't want it to be so much more clay. You want it to be just the next size up, right? Just a little bit more. There you go. And then maybe a little bit of bitty, tiny one. And then if you want to do one last really big one, you can do that, or you can save this clay for some of your extra projects that we've put in your kit on the YouTube channel. Woo, because these big ones can be kind of hard and a little bit tiring on your hands. And I'm definitely gonna put this stuff back in my bag. I might probably make that tiny one go away too. I might wait on this big guy. That's also big. I think I want to make an extra tray with this clay. So I have 2, 3, 6. 6 is just a good number too. All right, so I'm gonna set that clay aside, and we're gonna get started with our smallest amount of clay. And we'll roll it between our hands into a ball, okay? And then I'm just gonna take my thumb and stick that in. Not all the way through, just down to about the middle. And then with this type of motion, it's kind of like this, I'm gonna pinch around the walls of this pot, of making this into a bowl shape. I'm just pinching the clay. I'm trying to keep the walls even. I don't want to get super thin, and I don't want to leave it super thick either, okay? And I'm gonna also, sometimes what happens is these bowls want to get really wide. I'm also gonna pinch and pull kind of back in to keep it into a bowl shape, not a plate. These get better with time and practice. You might even want to use some of your extra clay to practice first. And you won't believe this, but trust me, put a handkerchief or just close your eyes, but put on a mask and try to do these by touch. Just by using your sense of touch, these pinch pots are so much better when you do it with just not looking. It's really interesting, but you guys can see I've thinned those walls out and I've made this cute little bowl. I'm gonna set that aside over here. And I'm gonna move on to the next ball of clay. All right, so I'm gonna take my thumb, pop it in, and then do that motion. And I'm doing that as I circle the clay around. So I'm pinching, trying to pinch evenly throughout the entire bowl. And again, trying to keep those walls an even thickness. Something that happens, there's always a little bit of clay down here around the bottom. Don't leave it there. Pinch that up, pinch that out of there. We don't want that to be real heavy right there because that won't be an even wall. That can cause these to crack. And we want to check, compared to the first one we've made, that this is definitely, the first one is going to fit down inside the second one. That's how they nest. They actually kind of look like a little bird's nest, don't they? But just thinning that out, making sure, maybe pull it up just a little bit. I'm trying to keep the walls not only even within this pot, but even all the way around with the other pots that I make. So I'm trying to have those, the edges, the rim be the same thickness for all of these bowls. Okay, I'm just gonna set that aside. I'm gonna make sure that fits down in, it does. See guys, it fits down inside, there's plenty of room. I'll set those aside. And we'll go on back to our next size up. Pop in my thumb and then pinch around. If one hand gets tired, you can switch to pinching with your other hand and go back and forth. This is actually a really good exercise for strengthening your wrists. I used to have a lot of issues when I was young with my hands being weak, and my mom would pull out clay, really mostly just like Play-Doh, to help me exercise my hands, right? And they got stronger and stronger. I'm sure glad she did that because I need strong hands to be a potter. Okay, and we'll double check to make sure that the size below fits in. Now that's kind of a close, tight fit, so I'm gonna pull that out just a little bit more. Now, if for some reason your clay starts getting a little bit wrinkly, you can see here, mine is just a little bit. Don't worry about it. Those are just wrinkles, not cracks. You can take a little bit of water and just smooth those away. Not a lot of water, right? A lot of water makes mud. We don't want mud. Mud is messy. Mud will make your piece fall apart and crack. All right, so I'm gonna just double check, pat that down, double check that that fits inside there. It does, excellent. And I'm gonna show you now, guys, what I'm gonna do with these strips of paper. I might even make them just a little bit smaller. Maybe fold them over, that's a good idea, instead of tearing. I'm gonna put that strip of paper down inside this bowl and then put the next size down, and then I can lift it up and out if I need to, but it also helps these from drying together. Sometimes they dry, when they shrink and dry, they get stuck. So this helps lift them out. So I'll put that down inside of there. And if you want to, you can cut these shorter. They don't have to be that long. You just need to be able to grab them. I'm cutting mine shorter just so you guys can see what I'm doing here. So I'm just putting those strips of paper between the bowls. All right. And I can lift it out if I need to. I'm not gonna lift them out right now because I'm gonna show you one more step. These bowls are still pretty round on the bottom and I want them to sit upright. So I'm gonna tap, tap, tap on the bottom so it sits straight. I'm gonna do the same with this one. Tap, tap, tap. And then put that down in, put that down in. Once they have that flat bottom, you're good to put them back in. And then I'm gonna tap, tap, tap this one. And put that down in. And I'm gonna keep going. All right, so now that we're getting to our larger amounts of clay, I'm gonna show you a trick. I think I could probably still stick my thumb in this one, but I've got pretty big hands. You guys might need to, once you get to this size, do a different technique, and I'll show you that right now. I'm gonna take the palm of my hand and press. Just press it in and kind of round the clay around my palm, and it just gives it a little bit of an indent. It flattens it out a little bit, and it gives you a good start. And I'm gonna pinch around. Still have to make sure I get down into the bottom and I don't leave too much clay in the bottom. And just making sure that those edges are going to be the same thickness as the other bowls that I made. And then checking that that's going to fit. Yep, looks like that's going to fit down inside. Still feel a little bit of heavy clay in the walls here, so I'm going to just pinch those out a little bit. But you guys see the pinch, pinch, pinch. Now you know why it's called a pinch pot, right? There's a ton of pinching that goes on. I'm gonna take my strip of paper, fold it over so it's nice and strong. Give it a little tap, 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 and then pop these down inside. This also helps lift these out when we're ready to sign these. They need to dry up a little bit, but these do need to be, as everything else, you've got to get your 3 initials on the bottoms of every one of your bowls. All right, moving on to our next hunk of clay that's bigger. I'm gonna use the palm technique again here, or you can even use 2 thumbs. The palm or 2 thumbs are gonna be stronger than 1 thumb, right? So you can do that. And that'll help you with the larger amount of clay. It just gets a little bit harder to pinch these with that much clay, but it can be done. I know you can do it. So I'm just setting this right on the table and moving it around, spinning it around on my canvas. You can pick it up. If your hands get tired, you can set it down. There's no wrong with us. The only wrong is getting those walls a little too thin or a little too thick. But smoothing it, pinching it. Trying to see if I have my little wooden spoon around here. If you have a wood spoon at home, guys, you can use that, the back of the wood spoon. Make sure to ask Mom first and make sure to clean it off afterwards, right? Let's not get in trouble with our clay stuff. But you can use the wood spoon to pat. That can help thin out the walls also with this bigger amount of clay. It can also help smooth the outside of your bowl. Then I'm going to tap, tap, tap. Ooh, look at the camera when I do that. Sorry about that. This is a lot of clay. You can even kind of collar it in if you need to. If it gets a little too out of control, a little too wide, a little too big, you can kind of squeeze those edges like that back in, and you can smooth the bottom on the inside with a finger, just like that. I have little finger marks down there that I didn't really want to be there. I'm gonna make sure, oh, it's a little bit small, so I gotta keep on going. I gotta keep on pinching those walls out just a little bit more. These are great to have around the kitchen. You could share these with mom. You can do some baking things with these. You can use the little ones for salt and herbs when you're making a recipe. Or you can use these to plant plants. Or you can use it for the bigger ones for cereal. But this is a nice functional pot. This is functional pottery, which is something you can use every day. And that's what I love to make. All right, make sure that's gonna, yeah, now we're in business. That's this. And you can see how these all fit right up close with one another. It's really a nice look. And these will be glazed in some really bright, nice colors. All right, so for our last large bowl, whew. Take a break if you need to. If your hands get sore or tired, you can take a break. You don't have to make these all together. You can set these aside. So again, you can set these aside and rest, because this can be hard work, especially with this big amount of clay. You can cover them with plastic, the ones you've made already, and then put your clay back in your bag and just do this a little bit later if you want to. So I'm using this big amount of clay, and it's hard to pick up and do, so I'm just letting it rest on the table. And I'm pinching around as I go, trying to thin those walls evenly. You might notice with the large amount of clay, it's a little harder to control. So just take your time, do your best, and try to pinch in a rhythmic, even manner. You can even kind of pat it on the outside. And get that pulled up, those walls pulled up. Check to see if they're gonna fit. It's looking pretty good. Smooth the inside so there's no finger marks or anything strange in there, or anything sharp or dotted. And I can decide if I'm gonna decorate these. You guys could go ahead, as these dry up a little bit, you could use your texture from your scavenger hunt to decorate the outside or the inside. It'd be kind of fun, but they definitely need to be more firm. They need to set up a little bit. They need to be a little bit not so soft. All right, and with our last strip, fold that over, set that down, make sure these fit inside. They do. So I've got a nice group, really nice functional set that we can use in the kitchen. And we've got a nice set that is gonna be glazed in some really cool colors. Now, after this sets up a little bit, we're gonna have to take these apart, and you guys know the drill. We need to sign our initials on the bottom. Put your 3 initials on every single bowl. You might even want to do your initials in 1, and then on the second one, initials 2, initials 3, and so on. But please put all 3 initials on your bowls. When these fire, guys, when these are dried up, they'll be dry. You guys are going to transport this set to the studio very carefully because it's going to be bone dry. And then I can put it in the kiln just like it is. The paper will burn away. and I'll know they're all together and they're part of a set, but once these are glazed, these have to be fired individually because the bottom is waxed to protect the kiln shelf and protect the bottom of the pot. And they're glazed flat on the kiln shelf all separately. And so if they're not initialed really well, bowls can get confused with other bowls. And the worst thing would happen is that you get a bowl that's not yours and then it doesn't fit, right? It doesn't fit down inside of your set. So remember to sign your initials, have fun with this, post some photos for us on the YouTube channel. We'd love to see what you're making. We'd love to see your pinch pot nesting bowl, and have fun with this project, guys. Bye.